A life cut short. The story of Naika Venant. Naika Venant was a 14-year-old girl from Miami. Instead of navigating adolescence, she found herself trapped in a failing system. On January 22, 2017, Naika took her own life while live streaming on Facebook Live. The world watched in horror as this young life ended so tragically. Naika's death wasn't just a personal tragedy, it exposed deep societal flaws. It forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about cyberbullying, mental health, and the foster care system. Naika's story is not unique. Countless children suffer in silence, their cries for help going unanswered. We must learn from Naika's story and do better. We must create a world where every child feels seen, heard, and valued. Naika's story is a stark reminder that behind every headline there is a human life. It's a life filled with dreams, struggles, and a desperate need to be loved. We must remember Naika, not for how she died, but for how she lived, with resilience and vulnerability. The digital witness, cyberbullying, and the bystander effect. Naika's suicide unfolded in a public and horrifying manner. For 2 hours, she streamed on Facebook Live. During that time, viewers left comments. Some were cruel, some encouraged her actions. Very few reached out for help. This horrific event reveals a dark side of the digital age cyberbullying. The internet can be a breeding ground for cruelty. Anonymity shields bullies, allowing them to detach from the impact of their words. What they may see as a joke can have devastating consequences for the recipient. Naika's case is a tragic example of this. But cyberbullying isn't just about the aggressor, it's also about the bystander, the silent witness. In Naika's case, thousands watched her suffering and did very little to stop it. This inaction speaks volumes about the power of the bystander effect. We must ask ourselves, why do we hesitate to act when we witness online cruelty? Is it fear? Indifference? A belief that someone else will intervene? It's time to break the silence and create a culture of empathy in the digital space. Behind closed doors, a history of trauma and instability. To understand Naika's tragic end, we must look beyond the Facebook Live event. Naika's journey was marked by instability and trauma. She spent years in and out of foster care, enduring multiple placements and separations. Imagine being shuffled from one home to another. Imagine the confusion, the fear, the longing for a place to belong. This was Naika's reality. The foster care system, while well-intentioned, often fails to provide the stability and support that children desperately need. Naika's case highlights the systemic issues within foster care. There's a lack of resources, a shortage of qualified caregivers, and a failure to address the underlying trauma that many foster children carry. These children need more than just a roof over their heads. They need love, therapy, and a sense of belonging. We must advocate for reforms, increased funding, and a trauma-informed approach to care. These children deserve a chance to heal, thrive, and reach their full potential. Systemic failures, cracks in the foster care system. Naika's journey through the foster care system was fraught with challenges. It exposed the cracks in a system that's supposed to protect vulnerable children. Instead, it often exacerbates their trauma. Naika's case is a stark reminder that good intentions aren't enough. We need systemic change. One glaring issue is the lack of communication and coordination among agencies involved in a child's care. Caseworkers, therapists, foster parents, and biological families often operate in silos. This lack of collaboration can have devastating consequences, as crucial information gets lost in the shuffle. Foster care systems across the country are overwhelmed and underfunded. This results in overworked caseworkers, limited mental health services, and a lack of support for both foster children and their caregivers. We must hold our elected officials accountable for creating a system that truly protects and nurtures our most vulnerable citizens. Section 5. The Weight of Silence, Mental Health and Naika's Cry for Help. Naika's struggles weren't limited to the foster care system. She was also battling mental health issues. Sadly, her cries for help went largely unanswered. This points to a larger societal problem, the stigma surrounding mental health, especially among young people. We live in a world where vulnerability is often seen as weakness. Children are taught to put on a brave face and hide their struggles. This silence can be deadly. When we don't talk about mental health, we create an environment where children feel ashamed to ask for help. We need to start these conversations early, in homes and schools. We need to teach children that it's okay to not be okay and provide them with the resources and support they need to heal. Naika's legacy should be one of breaking down stigma and creating a world where mental health is treated with the same importance as physical health. Section 6. A mother's accountability, allegations, and family dynamics. Naika's relationship with her mother, Gina Kays, was complex and troubled. Reports emerged after Naika's death. They alleged that Kays had sent her daughter hurtful messages during the Facebook live stream. These allegations, if true, add another layer of tragedy to this already heartbreaking story. While it's important to avoid rushing to judgment, the allegations against Kays raise serious questions about parental responsibility and the role of family dynamics in a child's mental health. If a parent is struggling, it's crucial that they seek help, not only for themselves, but also for the well-being of their children. Naika's case highlights the interconnectedness of family systems. It underscores the need for family-centered support services that address the needs of all members, not just the child in crisis. Section 7. The Aftermath. A community grapples with loss. Naika's death sent shockwaves through her community and beyond. It left many grappling with grief, anger, and a profound sense of loss. This tragedy forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about our society and the ways in which we fail our children. In the aftermath of Naika's death, vigils were held and calls for justice rang out. People demanded answers. They wanted to know how this could have happened and what could be done to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Naika's story became a catalyst for conversations about cyberbullying, mental health, and the foster care system. It sparked a movement, albeit a somber one, to raise awareness and advocate for change. Naika's death was a wake-up call, reminding us that we are all connected and that the well-being of our children is a shared responsibility. Section 8. Social media's responsibility, a call for accountability. Naika's suicide, broadcast live on Facebook, ignited a debate about the role and responsibility of social media platforms. These platforms have become ubiquitous, shaping our interactions, our access to information, and even our mental health. The tragic circumstances of Naika's death raised questions about the adequacy of safety measures on social media. It highlighted the need for more robust content moderation policies and quicker response times to reports of self-harm or suicidal ideation. While social media companies have made efforts to address these issues, there's still much work to be done. Naika's story serves as a stark reminder that social media platforms have a responsibility to protect their users, especially vulnerable youth. Section 9. Fostering change, reforming the foster care system. Naika's experience in the foster care system exposed its flaws and the urgent need for reform. This system, designed to protect vulnerable children, often falls short of its mission. It can trap children in a cycle of instability and trauma. One crucial aspect of reform is addressing the shortage of qualified foster parents. We need to incentivize fostering by providing financial support, training, and ongoing resources for caregivers. We also need to prioritize placing children in loving and stable homes where their emotional and psychological needs are met. Another critical area for improvement is mental health care. Children in foster care often carry the weight of trauma, abuse, and neglect. They need access to high-quality mental health services that are trauma-informed and culturally sensitive. Section 10. Prioritizing mental health, breaking the stigma. Naika's story is a tragic reminder of the importance of mental health awareness and support. It highlights the devastating consequences of silence and stigma, particularly among young people. We need to create a culture where mental health is treated with the same importance as physical health. This means starting conversations early, in homes, schools, and communities. We need to teach children about mental health, help them identify warning signs, and encourage them to seek help without shame. Breaking down stigma requires a multifaceted approach. We need to educate parents, teachers, and community leaders about mental health. We need to increase access to affordable and culturally competent mental health services. Naika's legacy should be one of open dialogue, compassion, and support. Section 11. Naika's legacy, a call for empathy and action. Naika Venant's story is a tragedy that should never be forgotten. It's a stark reminder of the human cost of cyberbullying, systemic failures, and the stigma surrounding mental health. But Naika's legacy should not be defined by tragedy alone. Instead, we must turn our grief and outrage into action. We must honor her memory by creating a world where her story inspires change. This means fostering empathy, both online and offline. It means speaking out against injustice and advocating for those who cannot speak for themselves. Naika's story is a call to action for each of us to examine our own biases, to challenge systems of oppression, and to create a more just and compassionate world for all children. Let us remember Naika, not for how she died, but for how she lived, with resilience, vulnerability, and a desperate need to be seen and loved.